Something I've been struggling with and I want us to talk about it. Comfort versus complacency. I took some time off work this year because I needed it, but after the break, I found myself struggling to get back into the groove of doing even the little things. Tasks that used to feel very simple now feels very difficult and hard. I'll tell myself, oh, I'll do this or that tomorrow, only to realize after 1 week I hadn't even ticked off a single goal. It made me start questioning myself, have I become complacent or am I just comfortable? Now, comfort and complacency might seem similar, but they are very different. Comfort is a state of ease, is a place where you feel secure, satisfied and free from stress, is where you kind of recharge and reflect. But complacency, on the other hand, that's when you settle so deeply into your comfort that growth stops. You feel very self-satisfied, unaware of how much potential you're leaving on the table. The key difference is that comfort provides you rest and stability, but allows room for growth, whereas complacency, on the other hand, shuts the door to growth by making you resistant to change or challenges. So for me, comfort started as a positive tool, a chance to regain clarity and refocus. But somewhere along the line, I crossed over into complacency without realizing it. But then I had to recognize this shift, which took some self-reflective questions. The turning point was when I started asking myself questions like, am I growing or am I coasting? Because you really need to be honest with yourself. Am I actively pursuing my goals or have I stopped setting new goals? When was the last time I stepped out of my comfort zone? Am I avoiding opportunities because of fear or laziness? Do I have a clear vision for my future? Am I satisfied with mediocrity? If you're okay with just getting by rather than striving for excellence, it could also be a sign of complacency. Is there a decline in my performance? Your productivity or effort gradually decreases because you no longer feel the need to excel. The answers to these questions pointed me towards complacency, and that's okay because the first step is to recognize it, because you can't fix what you don't acknowledge. Now, recognition is a critical step to addressing complacency. It's not about beating yourself up, it's about shining a light on the areas of your life where you can do more, feel more, or grow more. Once you see it, you can take steps to changing it. Now, after recognition, the next thing was for me to be honest with myself. Ask yourself questions like, am I really pushing myself or am I just coasting? Have I avoided challenges because I feel very uncomfortable, or do I feel uninspired or stuck in an area of my life? Honesty is the foundation to self-awareness. It's not about, judging yourself. It's about understanding where you are. Next thing is for you to listen to signs. Boredom. Do you feel like your life is on a repeat? I'm not saying that it's a bad thing for you to be bored, but when it's extremely constant. Another thing could also be lack of motivation. Like, are you doing things out of habit instead of passion or purpose? Do you notice any decline in your performance? Is your work or effort slipping because you stopped caring or trying? If these things resonate with you, it means that it might be time for you to reset. The next is for you to watch out for excuses. Excuses like, oh, I'm too busy, oh, it's not the right time, or oh, I'm not ready yet. These are often red flags of complacency. I recognize that I started making lots of excuses for myself at the slightest inconvenience or discomfort. Another thing is for you to pay attention to feedback. Sometimes others see what we can't see. Has a friend, a mentor, a colleague ever said something like, you're capable of more than this? You haven't been as productive as you used to be. That's unlike you. Why haven't you gone after that opportunity? What's delaying you? Like, you see yourself drifting and declining in the way you used to perform. So you have to reflect on these observations. They could be pointing you to areas where complacency has set in. Another thing is also to notice the absence of growth. Reflect on your progress over the past 6 months to 12 months. Have you learned anything new? Have you achieved any goal, whether big or small? Growth doesn't have to be so massive. It could be as small as picking up a new hobby or even improving a skill. It could be even making your bed every day for 1 week. If there is no growth at all, complacency might be holding you back. I explained my predicament to ChatGPT and asked for solution on how to get out of this situation or avoid it. And here are some solutions that were provided. So the first thing was for me to embrace small, steady changes. It told me to just do the smallest things. Start with one thing that feels slightly uncomfortable but achievable. For me, it was scripting this particular video. Maybe doing 1 hour exercise. The 1 hour feels so long. I had to cut my exercise to like 15 minutes. It really could be anything. The point is for you to take up any small challenge. Growth doesn't have to be extreme or immediate. It's about taking one step at a time. The next thing was for me to reignite my vision. Ask yourself, what do you really want? Take out time to revisit your goals, whether it's in your career, relationship, or personal development. Having a vision gives you some form of direction. Break them down into smaller steps. That's another thing I did. I just told myself, okay, today we're going to script, tomorrow we're going to shoot, next tomorrow we're going to edit. Something like that. The third one is to create accountability. Share your goals with someone you trust. A friend, a mentor, a colleague, people online. Having someone checking on you keeps you motivated. I did this with my friend. I called her and I told her to stay on the phone with me while I script. If not, it will probably make me keep scrolling on the phone or busy binging movies. Making her stay on the phone kept me accountable because I told her for me to end this call, I must finish scripting. Another thing that I also do for my workout is I kind of start posting my workouts on my Instagram story, where I share that I work out 3 days a week and try to make conscious effort to update them. And sometimes I'll get messages like, oh, you haven't updated for the week. How is it going? So things like that, having people to keep you accountable kind of helps you keep the ball rolling. The next thing he told me was to learn to get comfortable with discomfort. Growth lives in the uncomfortable zone, right? I have to keep telling myself to get used to trying things that could be scary, no problem. What I just started doing was, what's the worst that could happen? Because guys, I felt a lot of imposter syndrome when I wanted to come back to start creating videos again. I'm like, who wants to listen to you? But anyways, I just told myself, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but get used to doing uncomfortable things. And then the next thing is to accept setbacks as part of the journey. Avoid perfectionism. I think that's also something that I struggled with, because whenever I want to, I'm like, oh, but this is not good enough, or this is not good enough. And it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. But nothing really has to be perfect. It's okay to fail or pause briefly. What matters is getting back on track. Oh, I wasn't able to achieve this. Oh, I skipped this particular goal or this task this week. Let's start again next week instead of giving up, entirely. The next thing he told me was to celebrate my progress. Acknowledge the small wins to keep momentum. So you reward yourself after completing the task. If you said that 30 minutes and say, oh, I'm going to do this, and after that, I'm going to go back to watching my movie, right? So you've already achieved something, and then you're rewarding yourself for it. Those small things, those rewards could be what then motivates you. Although I know that in the long run, it might not work best, but trying to get out of it could solve your immediate problem. The next thing on the list is to focus on purpose, not just comfort. Remind yourself of why behind your goals. Purpose often reignites drive. For example, for me, when I don't want to work out, I just try to tell myself that I'm working out because I want to stay healthy and look younger, even in my 50s or 60s, right? Another thing too, like let's say for creating content, is that I really enjoy teaching, and I feel like there are some things that I know that people would benefit from through me sharing this knowledge, and that's purpose, right? So focus on the purpose. That's why I'm back creating content on YouTube again and trying to be as consistent as I can be. The last on the list is to reflect regularly. Spend time weekly or monthly asking yourself questions. Am I improving in areas I care about? Have I tried something new recently? What's one thing I can do to grow next week? Journaling could also be very useful for you to be able to track your progress and all. So the thing is, getting out of complacency isn't about flipping your life upside down overnight. It's about small intentional actions that build momentum over time. The realistic part is not about perfection but progress. So over the next few months, I'm going to be working on slowly changing my life for the better and keeping the promises that I made to myself. So if you're also struggling with getting out of your comfort zone, you feel you've slipped into complacency, let's see if we can work on this together. These few steps and tips that I've shared, try to see if you can practice maybe 5 out of the 9. Be honest with yourself and let's see how this works out. I hope this video was in one way or the other useful to you. If it was, please give me a thumbs up and let me know if you want any more videos from me. Please leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.